What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Mewzings podcast studio. I am excited to be joined today by Miss Erica Dururso. Did I over-enunciate?
Yes.
Tell me the proper way to say it, because I knew I was going to butcher it.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's Erika Dursto.
Awesome. And you are coming to us all the way from Milan, you said?
Yes. In fact, I'm sorry if my English is poorly,
Oh no,
but
your
I'll do my
English is
best.
very good. Very good. I'm always impressed when somebody speaks more than one language. No, I can understand you completely, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here today. I know it's only 12:30 almost p.m. here, but I understand there it's after 9 at night.
Yes, but I usually tend to be an ICO, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
I was going to ask you about that because I know a lot of creative people, we're all night owls and we do our best work at night and a lot of times feel the most creative. Do you feel you're the same way with your artwork? Do you do most of your major work at night?
I can say that most of my life has been that way. Especially when I lived with my parents. The night was the best moment to work because there was quiet
Right.
and no distractions. I was able to work in peace. So it lasted for many years. And lately, since I got my own house, and I also adopted a dog. So uh, being uh, waking up early was a must,
Yeah,
and
the
I
dog
had
the
to.
dogs don't allow you to sleep in.
Yes, she's a good sleeper, and I think she could wait for me until noon
Yeah.
if I want, but I realized that it's also a good habit waking up earlier and start the working day since the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, I try to do that, but it's hard. Like certain days I have to get up earlier, and for me it's very hard because I'll stay up till a lot of times, 1:30, 2 a.m. is like my average time that I go to bed. So on the mornings I have to get up early. It's a struggle. I would much rather stay in bed until noon.
Oh, yes, I feel it.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask, how early in your life did your interest in art start out for you? Was it ever since you were a child?
Um, yes, I think that like many other artists, I started drawing and expressing myself through art and since I was very little. I remember, I think I started it at 5 or 6.
Okay, very early.
Yes. And at first it was something that I kept doing because people were telling me, you're good, so you should keep going. And um, when for the first time I tried to do something else, I realized that I miss drawing and art a lot, and that it was my path.
Yeah. So it was your passion. You realized kind of that was something that was missing for you that you wanted to explore further.
Yes.
Now, for you, were you into comics back then? I mean, if we fast forward to now, obviously your work is in comics. Were your artistic interests always based in comics, or did you kind of get into just more traditional art to start and then found your way to comics after that?
It's only half and half. I mean that when I was little, there were comics that I read, like Mickey Mouse and something else, but it was not a passion yet until my teenage. And um, even then, when I liked the comics a lot, I couldn't imagine myself doing comics. And so my studies were oriented into traditional art and painting.
Okay.
And it's after my high school, I decided that I wanted to try comics.
And was there a particular comic you saw that maybe gave you that inspiration or gave you the idea that that might be a branch you could take and go and explore that, for your art style and maybe change a little bit and adopt more of a comic art style versus traditional?
Um, I think that I um, always drawn um, thinking in comic style, if it
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
In fact, when I tried the painting the patch, it wasn't working because I ended always drawing more uh, boldly and based on the comics I read.
Yeah.
And if I have to say a specific comic, I remember that I received with a newspaper like a um, collection of the first 5 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man,
Oh, yeah. Awesome stuff.
and I remember that looking at that, it was my very first American comic, and I remember um, how much impressive was for me looking at the ability to tell a story through the images. And I remember that book is completely broken because I read it a lot of times and I copied the images many times.
Yeah. So you actually used your comics and read them and didn't keep them sealed away in a bag. You very much loved and read and copied from them to try to help inform your art style and learn how to, produce in the more the comic book style of sequential storytelling and all of those types of things.
Can you repeat, please?
I was just saying that you really instead of being like a collector and babying your comic book and not reading it and keeping care of it, you actually utilized it and were using that in your studies to try to learn how to produce comic style artwork and sequential storytelling.
Yes, in fact, it was later when I was already working in the industry that I started collecting. So I ended buying more copies of the same comics if I
Nice.
to study it. So I have a copy for studying and another copy to collect.
Very cool. And what kind of comics do you, aside from that one, what kind of comics do you collect nowadays?
Uh, I have to say that I don't have a specific influence. So there are different styles that I enjoy looking at.
So you're similar
So
to me. You like comics based on the artwork. Am I
Mm,
understanding correctly? Because that's how I am. I like comics based on who's drawing it and the type of artwork that I enjoy.
Mainly, yes.
Yeah.
But mm, I have to say that this is changing since I started studying comics, thinking it like a profession.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I started, I kind of was looking only things that was comfort to me, and I wasn't learning anything.
Right.
Uh, so when I started opening a little more my horizon, I welcomed also other styles that eventually I enjoyed with time. For example, it was because during the pandemic, I was locked with my boyfriend at his house,
Yeah.
and he suggested me a comic that probably I would never read on my own because the style wasn't my cup of tea.
Right.
Um, and he made me read Murder Falcon by
Oh
Daniel Warren
yeah.
Johnson. And it was awesome. And I think that now he is my favorite author.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love his work. Have you been following his stuff he's been doing with the Transformers?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I I have them already. I'm
Yeah.
waiting a moment to enjoy them.
Yeah, they're awesome. And he's writing it too. So it's really cool to see him, getting to write a Transformers story, from his perspective. I believe he was a big Transformers fan growing up, and now he's getting to write it and draw it and everything and continuing to write it while there's another artist filling in some issues. And it's just been really cool to see him explore that. You can really see the passion for it come through in the artwork and the storytelling.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, everything he's done, I have and I collect. Yeah, Murder Falcon was amazing. Yeah, very different though, like you were saying, like it's a departure from a lot of the normal comics out there.
Yes, after that, there were many others that at first maybe I wouldn't look at, and then I just embrace everything. So maybe also trying to read good stories with styles that are not my usual interests, but enjoying them anyway, and
Yeah.
discovering something that I eventually like also of the style as well.
Did you when did you decide that you wanted this to be your livelihood, your profession? Was it pretty early on?
No, it was, um, I think I was 23, 24 years old.
Okay.
Um, I started studying comics because we have some comics course in Italy. And I started because I knew that I liked comics, but um, I was um, being influenced by uh, the companion of the time, and I mm, was giving up to draw because of him. And when I realized that I was losing something really important to me, that was drawing comics, I I changed city for a year, and I went to study in another school that provided me also education for entering in the market.
Okay. So you have an actual comic book, like comic and sequential art schools there in Italy, you said?
Yes.
Oh,
They're
that's amazing.
private school, but um, there there are really many different companies that um, teach comics, but some of them have really valid teacher. For example, in Turin, we have a comic school where the teacher is Simone Di Meo,
Oh, wow.
and another comic school in Rome has teachers David Messina, Sara Pichelli. So I I think that more the um, mm, classes itself, it's the teacher that can
Yeah.
transmit their uh, mm, I miss the word, but
Like
their just their
their
experience.
approach. Yeah.
Yes, the experience and the actual work they do is more valuable than the class itself. That could be anatomy and
Yeah.
eating. I think.
Did you take inspiration from Sarah? You mentioned her and that she taught there. She also did work on the Ultimate Spider-Man and Miles Morales and everything. She's
Um,
pretty amazing.
yes, when I did the school in Rome, she was one of the major influences that I had at the time. And I think that thanks to this uh, urge to imitating her helped me to develop um, um, the ability to change myself. If I uh, explain it me well, I mean that um, I learned how to evolve myself in time.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Um,
process, isn't it?
Yes, and sorry if it's not clear enough, but
No, no, very clear. And finding your own style can be hard because we definitely get these influences and these people who we want to emulate. But it's like you were saying earlier, you can take influences from everywhere and apply them to yourself and branch out and explore different areas that maybe you hadn't thought about. So for you, I know that you've done some work for Marvel, some covers and things. You did work for Image. I know you have Inferno Girl Red that you did a was that a Kickstarter project that you guys did?
yes, exactly. It started like this, and then Image decided to publish it.
Okay, and what was your I meant to ask you before that, what was your first professional work that you did?
I did couple of books for a indie publisher called Space Between Entertainment,
Okay.
and I did a comic called Prison Witch, where um, it's based in a prison, a women prison, and the main characters are witches.
Okay. It sounds like a
Mm.
unique concept. I like it.
Yes, it was a mix of Orange is the New Black, but with witches.
There you
So they
go.
presented it this way, and it was really cool and helped me a lot because it was my first work, but was also a project of more than 70 pages for a book. So it helped me a lot to develop my style, and it
Yeah.
was thanks to that one that I was able to work for other publishers. So that
Now, do you write as well? You come up with your own concepts and stories?
I would love to. I think it's where I would like to explore next. Um, but for now, I only have ideas and concepts that I'm keeping in the closet.
Yeah, keep them on the back burner and wait for the right time, right?
Yeah,
What's your most recent project that you're working on? Or I should say your most recent one that you can talk about, because I know a lot of times things haven't been announced and we have to keep a little bit of a secret on it. But as far as your most recent work that you've done, would that be the Inferno Girl, or have you done some other stuff since then?
I'm actually working only on Inferno Girl Red book 2, but during the year I also did some covers for Marvel that was announced, and one of the last one was Phoenix versus Alien,
Nice.
and I'm also working on some game stuff that I'm not sure I could announce yet, but I can say that it was really entertaining.
Nice. Yeah, I saw your Ahsoka cover you did, the variant cover. I love Star Wars, so I thought that was amazing. You got a great, I have it on my monitor over here looking at the Ahsoka with her Loth cat and everything. Very cool. Are you a big fan of Star Wars, or are you mainly more comics? I mean, they make Star Wars comics too, but as far as like movies, are you influenced at all by sci-fi and different kinds of movies like that, superhero movies?
I think that um, mm, I'm a vintage lover of these titles. I
Yeah.
mean that I love Star Wars for the um first arc.
You like
Um,
the original? Are you saying you like the original trilogy?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, like I was born the year that the first Star Wars came out, so 1977. So yeah, my heart is with the originals. There's been kind of a little hit and miss with the newer stuff, in my opinion.
I think that the most recent stuff of Star Wars that I've seen is the first season of The Mandalorian,
Yeah,
and I tried watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I can't say that I completely enjoyed it, so I stopped it there.
yeah,
And as for superhero movies, I can say that um, Avengers: The Endgame final the end of the best for me, and I didn't watch anything after that.
yeah. That was kind of the peak, I think, for the movies. That in most recent times, that was like the last really great movies that they did. As far as the ones that I love, I am very excited about the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie, though. I think that's gonna kind of rearrange and kind of reboot some things that maybe people haven't been liking about the most recent shows and movies. So I think they're going to do a little bit of damage control and try to change some things around. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm curious about it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not sure if I will be able to watch it on theater, but I'll surely catch up later.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see where it goes. And that character has such an ability to make fun of different things. So I'm sure they're going to be making fun of the stuff that people didn't like about certain shows and movies and everything. Um, have you had the opportunity? I see some of your artwork here. Looks like you've done some. A lot of cons. Like you've gone to quite a few different conventions. Have you traveled abroad to go to cons here in the U.S., or have you mainly been over there?
So I can say that last year was the time where I traveled more, because um, I did, I think, 3 or 4 conventions.
Okay.
And one of them was in New York. That was my first time ever uh, uh,
I've heard some
overseas.
really I've heard some really good things about the New York Comic Con.
Yes, it was really cool, and unfortunately, this year I cannot attend it, but I'll try to do next year because I um, really liked it, and there is a huge difference between uh, conventions in Italy, and the major difference is the public. Um,
Okay. As many people attend the conventions there.
no, I think it's the mentality.
Oh, okay.
Um, I mean, I have this impression that in Italy it's still hard to um, comprehend how this is a proper work, an actual
Mm,
work,
yeah.
and many people can accept your prices. So to sell something, I have to lower my my rate of a lot, and it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Uh, the last convention, I was a visitor, and there was um, Romita Jr. as a guest, and since there were many people interested in getting an autograph, they were looking for his original art
Hmm.
around the convention, and was planning to spend less than 100 euros.
Wow.
And when I heard this, I was like, "What are you expecting you exactly
Yeah.
spend?" And it's somehow the same thing when I expose my rate, so people maybe would expect a sketch for be free, or
Yeah.
a original page under the 100 euros is something really hard to make people get. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that um, accept this, but it's more like little window of people.
Yeah.
So maybe you can find those people going to bigger events like the Como Lakes Festival. And there you have people who truly loves comics and collectors, and they know the worth of the price of our art, instead going to little convention where this concept is still maybe immature, not
So do you?
mature.
I think it's interesting the fact that you guys have like actual comic art, like private schools there and things that teach people to do comic art, but that it's not as widely appreciated, maybe from a fan perspective, the scope of what you guys do. Because here, I mean, we don't really have, other than the Joe Kubert School, like we don't have a lot of actual art schools. But like you were saying, the fans here, like, we'll spend like a ton of money on original artwork and sketches and everything else. Like, Ryan Otley now, he's so famous. You know who Ryan Otley is? Like, if he did Invincible and he did a run on Spider-Man and Hulk, like I remember here back in the day, you could get his art for very cheap. But now he's so famous, it's like, and I'm so happy for him because he can charge like $1,000 for a bust sketch or something, and people pay. Like his list is always full here. See, do you think it's a maybe a cultural difference? Like the culture there just doesn't see it as much as a real quote unquote real job or something, drawing, making art for a living, drawing comics.
I think so, and I agree that it's strange having a lot of comic schools, but actually you're not teaching the students to make valuable their work, and somehow they teach them that it's not important because until they won't keep up their prices, people like will expect always to have a lower price.
Right.
Mm, I have this impression, and maybe it's also because we don't have a long comic history like the States.
Yeah.
And mm, for example, I think that we only had couple of publishers for years, like maybe the 80 or the 90, and it was only that one. In fact, maybe the most famous comic overseas, Italian comic overseas is Tex, and it's a Western, and it was like this since the first years, and it's still going, but um, we only have um, an explosion of publishers and import only after mm, the early 20.
Okay. So like the early 2000s is kind of when things started picking up there a little bit more.
Yes, and especially with the import of the manga,
Yeah.
there was an actual interest in comics, and I think it was exponential after that.
So it's growing. It's just maybe kind of taking a little while to gain popularity and grow. Yeah, I think you're onto something with the fact that here in the U.S. it's been around for so long. It's been such a big part of our culture for so many years. It's just we have a different way of looking at it. I think it's interesting. I always love talking to different people on here from different places. I just talked to one of my friends. He lives in Guam, and in Guam, he was saying there's hardly any like artists, like comic artists or anything still, and just like the scene is very small, but growing. Like you're saying there, it's starting to get bigger. So I think the popularity of the superhero movies too probably helped a bit with that. Like after the first Iron Man movie and everything, and the MCU really took off. I think they were like, "Oh, we need to do more of this stuff. It's
Yes.
popular." Did you find inspiration in those early Marvel movies?
Mm,
It kind of when it became more mainstream and more accepted to be into superhero stuff.
um, I really can't say because I watch a lot of series and movies, but I can say that there is something that inspired me so much as comic for
Yeah,
doing comics. Maybe it's more, I became more interested in how a story is developed. So I found myself maybe uh, mm, thinking about it and being more critic. So I watch the show to discuss about it more than enjoying it.
gotcha. And are you really keeping your eye on like the camera work and the way they're doing the storytelling in the film and taking those things and applying them to your sequential storytelling?
Um, yes or no. Uh, I mean, that I've been more focused, yes, on how um, the camera moves, mm, or how the event happen. Um, but I also try to exaggerate everything, uh, because um, we have a lot of technologies for movies now that can improve um, the developing, but on paper you can draw something that could never exist.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be less technical and more fantastical. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if the term is right, but
So you're
I
definitely you're definitely watching Daniel Warren Johnson then, because he's like the master of that.
yes, um, uh, I have to say that he is the author that inspired me more. And I met him last year in New York, and I panicked
I
so
bet.
much
Yeah.
because I wanted to tell him how I felt reading the stories, and also looking at what he achieved and how the passion he put in them flowed through me. But
Yeah.
I was too scared, and I said, "Hi, I'm a farmer. Please take this. I did this." I ran away.
That's normal when you meet one of your heroes, right? It's hard to keep it together for sure, especially somebody his caliber. And it seems like he's such a nice guy too, which is always cool when
Yes,
the superstars are very approachable and down to earth. And what impresses me, like there's several things that impress me about him, but just how free he is when he's inking. Like he's doing most of his drawing a lot of times in the with the ink, and that always scares me because the ink feels so permanent, you know. And then I watch him just drawing with the ink, like barely a little loose sketch, and then he's drawing with the ink, and yeah, it's definitely inspirational. I was gonna ask you, do you ink your own work?
yes. I'm also a lot picky because there were times where I needed an assistant, and um, I hated myself because I couldn't accept anyone if he wasn't able to do the work as I wanted. And
Yeah.
it's bad because there are times where I really need an author, like 2 years during the first book of Inferno Girl Red. I had an inflammation to both my elbows,
Oh no.
and I couldn't draw for 4 months. And in that time, I really could use an author for uh, inking at least. But I was too picky of my own work, and I asked a friend to help me with background. So he was able to help me for the first book, but in the second book he wasn't available because he started working for Marvel, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah. You know, that's the thing. Like, you have a way in your mind of seeing, like, how your work should look. And when a inker is interpreting your pencil work, it can go all different ways. And, you know, trying to bring that vision to life can be so difficult. And, you know, giving away some of your, something you've created and putting it else in someone else's hands has to be very difficult too. Like not having that full control over the finished product has to be difficult at times.
Yeah, I think that it could be. both limitation, because maybe the inker could bring to your work something more that you didn't thought about.
Right.
Um, but my problem is being a perfectionist, and this reflects on the cleaning I have on my art, and that I would get rid of it because sometimes it makes me feel too rigid or cold, and I would like to express more.
How do you deal with the perfectionism and not allowing it to cripple the process? And what I mean by this is, for me, like, I have a drawing behind me over there of the Hulk that I'm working on, and I get about to that stage that it's at, and then I see all the problems and I want to throw it away or start over. And that keeps me from continuing to progress, because really I just need to finish it and accept those mistakes and not make them the next time. But it's so hard for me to get past that point of, oh, I could do this better now. Like, I already know more than I did when I started this drawing. How do you find that you manage that and keep your perfectionism in check so you can make your deadlines and continue being productive?
So it, uh, uh, um, I don't know how to say that when you hit a bad spot, because it's one of my current difficulties, and I developed it um, since after the pandemic, I think.
Okay.
I um, I think it all started because during the pandemic, many projects I was working on were canceled, and I
Mm-hmm.
found myself completely mm, unoccupied.
Yeah.
So my time was um laying in bed in my bedroom at my parents' house, playing games, still being frozen there, and I really felt stuck. And
Yeah.
when I got my first project after that, it was Inferno Girl Red, and it was so huge project that the thought of doing it well froze me and made me procrastinate for a month
Yeah.
because I was so scared to mess everything up. And it kind of stayed this issue. So
So you're
my
still you're still working through it as we speak.
yes, it's hard because I would love to work more, but uh, sometimes I'm stuck on this problem, saying it's not perfect. It's not like I want. So I keep waiting
Yeah.
for probably nothing because it's only my actual work that will improve it. So
Yeah.
in the bad times, I happen to struggle a lot on this, but I try to think I've done the better on this page. So I try to give the best on every page I do. And I try to uh, make peace with myself, thinking that maybe this isn't the best I could do, but it's the best I could do until now. So it will be better on the next.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I saw a video on YouTube once, and the title was "Finished, Not Perfect." And
Yeah.
basically, I'm sure you've seen that video too. And it's a great principle, but applying it is very difficult. But
Yes,
it
I
makes
was
me,
thinking to
I was,
tattoo it like in
yeah,
my
yeah.
forehead.
And it actually makes me feel good knowing that a professional struggles with the same thing I struggle with. Because I think for any of us that are creative minded and perfectionist, it's kind of a something we're gonna struggle through and just have to kind of, like you said, accept it and move forward, knowing that the next one is gonna be better. I think is the main thing.
Yes.
Now, for you, you said you are currently working on the next Inferno Girl book. I want to know more about Inferno Girl and how that all got started. And, it sounds like, did you co create Inferno Girl?
Yes. It is my first co-creator work, and I got excited for this as well because um, for the first time after working for other publisher, I was able to create the characters, and I think that the character design part is a thing that I love really much because I like to give meaning to why I designed a character in a way or in another, even if the reader won't know anything, but it's cool. And it started with an offer, um, and they asked me if I was interested in to read a pitch, and it was this one, and if I was available to do some tests and design to see if I could match their idea.
Nice. So they were wanting to see if you had what it takes to bring their vision to life.
Yes, and at the beginning it was tough because they said to me that they already have another artist for the project, but they wasn't available to keep going. And so I was keeping thinking, oh no, I have to do better or equal to that artist because if not, maybe they won't like me. And I
Right.
felt a lot of pressure in the first months.
Now, this project started as a Kickstarter and then eventually got picked up by Image to publish.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, I'm not sure if it was already planned at teenage, but I think they wanted to check how the readers would have welcomed the new title.
Yeah.
So mm, I think that's why we proceeded this way.
And now with the second one, it's also on Kickstarter.
Yes, it was funded in September of the last year, and I should close it by September of this year.
Okay. So you're working away on that right now. That's kind of taking up the majority of your time at the moment.
Yes, I had other work, but once I closed all of them, I said, okay, now I'll focus only on Inferno Girl Red, and as I I want to mm, give it more attention.
Well, that's great. Yeah, you got to put your focus into it. It's easy to get the focus split up, especially if you're working on other commissions and covers and things for other publishers. It's got to be hard to kind of juggle all that and then put your heart and soul into the project that you're really passionate about. So have you kind of closed off taking other offers as far as work, or so you can focus? Or are you still filling in some things here and there, accepting some covers and stuff like that?
I accepted some, but I closed everything, and I decided to not taking anything else at least until the end of this book because on one side, working on something different after drawing the same thing after many pages could be not boring, but it could make you feel you a little stuck on the same thing. So changing the subject is actually fun, but of course it takes time. So um, uh, it helps the spirit, but it makes you drain because you're tired of
Yeah.
the work.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Yes,
On one hand, it inspires your creativity and keeps things fresh for you, but it is still a drain on the creativity as well.
yes.
Do you find, what's the biggest difference you find between doing a cover versus doing sequential art? I mean, there's obvious differences, but like a cover has to capture like the viewer's eye and make them want to inquire further and see what's going on in the book. Do you look at it any differently when you're doing a cover versus interiors? Are you thinking kind of outside the box a little bit with the covers, or do you kind of maintain the same approach regardless?
I I I think that I have two different approaches, but I'm not actively doing them. If I may say, because drawing the interiors allow me to describe a scene through different frames. Instead, in the cover, I have to choose a moment that describes everything. But I think that the most difficult thing is that for the cover, or you have a subject already decided and you can't change it,
Mm-hmm.
or you don't have anything except the title. So somehow, even if the cover could be easier because it's a single illustration, it uh, sometimes harder because I want to catch the eye of the reader and make him buy the book. That's
Right.
the meaning of a good cover. But sometimes it's hard to imagine what the publisher wants because I have no clue to what to draw. And for example, it was the case of one of the last covers I did that was the variant of Jubilee Bloodhunt. And they only said, there's Jubilee and she's fighting the vampire. And that's it.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the story in the book, and
Yeah.
I don't know the event. I only know these things, so I wasn't sure what they wanted. So I proposed them many ideas, and they picked the one they preferred. Instead, for interiors, I'm guided through the script, but I'm able to draw it like I want
Mm-hmm.
completely. So if the scene says uh, character A punches character B, I can draw it from above, from a detail. I can change and do a different angle, so it's funnier and
Yeah.
it gives a lot of freedom.
Yeah, a little bit more creative freedom in that regard for sure.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about your process. Do you do a blend of traditional and digital, or do you work all digital? I know a lot of artists nowadays work 100% digital because there's, such an ability to streamline and maybe have the workflow go a little bit quicker. But then the trade-off is not having originals to be able to sell necessarily. So what's your process right now? How do you like to approach your work?
At first I was the digital artist 100%, but I discovered how good could be detach from the screen sometimes and draw on paper. So I
Yeah.
started doing commission, and after that I started doing all the covers from traditional art. And I would like to um, start doing also the interior, but um, I wasn't sure how to replicate some effects on the digital on the paper. And since I was working on a title that was it, which style was already settled, I wasn't sure to test the traditional art for interiors for this book. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll do it for another
you didn't want
story.
to accidentally maybe change the look, like if you were doing all digital and then all of a sudden you switch to traditional and don't know exactly how to execute the same techniques, and then there might be a little bit of a jarring response if people are reading this and then all of a sudden they're like, something's a little different about the art. Was that a little bit of your concern?
Yeah. So I thought to live in traditional only some color, and maybe the next time of story that separated from this book, I could give a try doing it in traditional, because I think that it has some advantages, and one of them is surely the composition. In fact, I think that the composition of the layout is always traditional for me, and it's something that I can't put directly on in digital. So I made the layout in traditional and import after that to ink it.
Nice. Very cool. Well, listen, I really appreciate you spending your evening here for a little bit. I don't want to keep you for too long. I want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can check out your work, what they should be on the lookout for, how they can support. I'm going to give you a couple moments to tell everybody that, and then we'll be on our way.
Okay. I have the Instagram and as Eruchan, or uh, they can also find me on X as Erika D'Urso.
Awesome. So those are your main two forms of places where people can see your work and contact you and everything?
Oh, yes, on them there is my email as well.
Perfect. And so the next thing for everybody to be on the lookout for is going to be the second Inferno Girl Red, right?
Oh, yes.
And I'm assuming people can still go buy the first one.
I'm not sure if it's available, the Kickstarter edition,
Okay.
but they can find the image book trade paperback.
Yeah, or the probably on Comixology, I would assume. Hopefully it's on there. That's where I'm going to be looking for it.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome, Erica. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending your time with me tonight. I had a great time, and I can't wait for everybody to check this episode out. I want to make sure that everybody goes over to the Nerdy Mewzings YouTube. That's youtube.com/@ symbol Nerdy Mewzings, Mewzings. Give us a like, a subscribe, an Apple Podcast review would be awesome. The video version's available on YouTube, audio version wherever you guys like listening to podcasts. I'm going to hit this outro. Everybody, keep it nerdy.